You could sing, yeah. You know they're recording now. That clock is a little wrong. Yeah. 6:59 is what I have.
I'm a very big believer in waiting until the time because some people get very irritated if we don't.
Hello. Hold on. No, we're getting ready to start. We're getting ready to start.
Okay, welcome. How are you? All right. Happy New Year. Absolutely. It is shaping up to be a great new year at the Lawrence County Museum. We're glad to have you here as always. And I'm still always going to say, if you're not a member, please become a member. It's how we keep our doors open. And it's one of the ways, but it's the main way. And it's how we keep our exhibits free of charge to everyone. I have a few announcements of things that are coming up. On January the 24th is the opening of the 521 All-Stars exhibit, which focuses on an all-black baseball league in South Carolina. It's very interesting, y'all. Carolina Day, Sunday, June the 28th, is the grand opening of the museum's Revolutionary War exhibit. There will be many other things happening that day in Lawrence, including a community worship service and a parade. So make plans to check the schedule of things that are happening that day so you can come and be a part of it. We will also have a reception that day, but the information on that is to come because we want to make sure that we're not overlapping other things. The Old Country Jam meets each second and fourth Sunday from 2 to 5, unless there's an event in the Magnolia Room. And I see some of the participants here today. I was able to listen while I was doing some work the other day, and it was fabulous. Thank you all for doing that. The Ann Pamela Garden Club and Pamela Cunningham Garden Club meets here on the second Thursday of each month, September through May, except December and May, when we have some very nice, gracious hostesses within the club who invite us to their home. We'd love to have you join us, men and women, and it's not a snotty bunch, is it? It's fun, and we always learn something. You don't even have to be a serious gardener to come. Let's see. A women's history event will take place on March the 7th. The Keepers of the Word, the drumming circle that was here last year, is coming back for that event, and that is worth coming to. You need to come to hear that. It's the Keepers of the Word are a Native American women's drumming group. The Glow Run walk, however you want to do it, is April the 25th, and you'll be getting more information about that. If you're not a member and you signed the visitor sheet, if you put your email address down, we'll be glad to put you on our mailing list. It's not our snail mail, but our email list. We don't sell anybody's information. It's very safe to do, and you'll be able to keep up with some things. You get one newsletter a month, maybe, but also check our website and our Facebook page and whatever else we have out there. Jim Brinson's art class, which meets every Wednesday from 10 to 12, will have a show in March from March the 14th through April the 25th. Anyone who would like to come can contact Jim. His phone number, I believe, is on our Facebook page for the announcements there. They seem to have a wonderful time. There are lots of other things that happen at the museum. It is a fabulous place to come and visit, even if you're just coming to sit in the lobby. Sometimes all you hear is laughter coming from the Burns room when the golf players, now it's not golf like that, it's a card game, and they keep us hysterical. We have lots of other groups that meet here. We'd love to have you join us for all kinds of things, or maybe start a new group. So welcome, Durant. Thank you for being here, and here's Durant.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. And as you can tell, the Lawrence County Museum is a happening place. So tonight we're going to be talking about the fall of Savannah. And when we think about important battles in the Revolutionary War, Savannah is definitely up there. It doesn't get nearly the attention that it deserves as far as how the Revolutionary War took place and evolved throughout the battles, and particularly in the South. And if it wasn't for Savannah falling, Charleston wouldn't have fallen, and there's no telling how different the course of the war would have been. The picture here is a diorama from the Savannah Museum, and if you're ever in Savannah, boy, you need to check that museum out. It is great. And the museum is right next to the Spring Hill Redoubt, which is going to be an important part of our story tonight. So, you know, those two items are there. And then you look at the statues to Pulaski and Greene and one other escapes me right now, but Savannah is a happening place as far as Revolutionary War tourism and interest is concerned, and the importance of that battle cannot be overstated. So looking at the fall of Savannah, these are the Revolutionary War activities that occurred in Georgia. And as you can tell, it was all along the Savannah River. The first two cities in Savannah in Georgia were Savannah and Augusta. And Augusta because that's as far as you could sail up the Savannah River. And that's where they had rapids and shoals and waterfalls. It's a good place to cross, but you can't get transportation beyond the fall line that goes through Augusta. So just wanted to orient you a little bit about this. And, you know, this being where Savannah is, and you can see these different battles which we're getting ready to discuss. In the north, you know, we had the major battles up there. Boston, New York campaign. George Washington lost 4 battles in a row in New York. There was a brief resurgence at Trenton, but then William Howe, the British commander, he wanted to take Philadelphia. Philadelphia was the capital, and in Europe, when you take the capital, you've won the war. Not in America. But at the same time that the Philadelphia campaign was going on, there was also a battle in Saratoga. And Howe was supposed to join and participate in that plan to divide New England away from the rest of the colonies. but he decided Philadelphia was better, and he really didn't follow orders in that. Burgoyne comes down from Canada, and he gets stymied in 2 battles, and he's stuck with no supplies. He has to surrender his 6,500-man army. And when Burgoyne surrendered and Saratoga was won, that was when the French entered the picture. And the French alliance was just absolutely crucial to us winning the American Revolution. And in England, London, they were so worried about the French being involved, they told Howe, said, look, you've got 12,000 people in soldiers in Philadelphia, and we got problems. We need you to take that garrison and go to places that we're most worried about. So all 12,000 men had to retreat. And those men 5,000 went to New York to bolster defenses there. 5,000 went to the Caribbean. Those were the most important possessions to the British Crown, the Caribbean. They weren't going to let the French get a hold of that. And 2,000 of those men went all the way around to Pensacola, to West Florida, because they also had to counteract the Spanish influence, which was in New Orleans. So that army that was in Philadelphia basically just evaporated. And as Howe was leaving to go to New York, George Washington had been in Valley Forge, and they had trained for 6 months. And George Washington knew that Howe was on the move, and he was susceptible to being attacked. So he ordered an attack in New Jersey. And this is where the Battle of Monmouth occurred in June of 1778. It was a stalemate, or a draw, if you would, which led to an entire draw in the North. There were no significant battles in the North after June of 1778. And Howe quit over that. He didn't like the way things were going, and of course he was the one that caused the problems in the first place. There's a lot of debate about that. But anyway, now Henry Clinton is the commander of the British forces in America. And he had always wanted to have a Southern campaign. He was leading the attack on Charleston, Carolina Day, June 28th, 1776. Clinton was leading that attack with Cornwallis, and he wanted to get a toehold in the South. So what he did was Clinton sent 3,000 troops under the command of Archibald Campbell down to invest Savannah. And Archibald Campbell landed 3,000 troops right here on Tybee Island, unopposed. So here you can see Savannah. This is the Savannah River. This is high ground. All throughout here and here are rice fields, land that floods. It's muddy. You can't hardly walk through it. It's like pluff mud. You sink up to your ankles with every step. So Archibald Campbell landed here with 3,000 men. Now the plan was that there was a British army that was going to come up from St. Augustine. And this is under Augustine Prevost. And he had 1,500 men, General Augustine Prevost. And Campbell and Prevost were supposed to meet together at the same spot at the same time and then take Savannah. Well, that journey from Florida to Savannah through those swamps is just gruesome, grueling. And they were delayed weeks. So they never did get together. But Archibald Campbell, he's got his 3,000 men. And this was about as far as they could get up to the Savannah River until they came to this causeway. And Campbell took his men and he started approaching. Now this is, from this area, this is the way to get into Savannah. This is the road, if you will. This is the path. And there's a little high spot here. This is a Continental North Carolina General, Robert Howe. We got a lot of Howes going on here. But General Howe had 2 regiments of North Carolina Continental troops. And he had them stationed on the approach, on the way to get to Savannah. He had them blocked. These 900 men were blocking these 3,000 men until there was a local slave. His name was Quamino Dolly. He knew a footpath through the rice fields, and he led Campbell's troops single file all the way around this fortification here. And Savannah, they just waltzed right into Savannah. And Savannah had fallen then. December the 29th, 1778. Monmouth was in June. Now in the end of December, Savannah has fallen. British has a toehold in the South. When Savannah fell, all the loyalists in the area, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina and North Carolina, the loyalists now were uplifted. And they were coming in out of the woodwork, literally, signing up with loyalist militias throughout the entire area. So this was very invigorating to the loyalists who had been laying low for 2.5 years. After the snow campaign, backcountry of South Carolina, right here, Battle of the Great Canebrake, just in Greenville County. The Loyalists went to ground after that. So many of them fled to Florida. Many of them went into the Cherokee Territory. Many of them, probably most of them, signed oaths of association. Yes, I'm a patriot now. I will lay down my arms. They did pick up their arms again during the Cherokee War that occurred 6 months after the snow campaign. This was the next big campaign. If you want to prove you're a patriot, you need to join up. You need to go with us because we're getting ready to attack the Cherokees. And the Cherokees, the Loyalists and Patriots, there were a lot of Loyalists who did not mind raising and destroying the Cherokee territory. So after that, again, 2 years after the Cherokee War, it was calm. It was peace in the backcountry until Savannah fell. And when Savannah fell, Loyalists in the backcountry were getting together. We know that all these folks from Florida came up. This is when Bloody Bill Cunningham came into Savannah. Thomas Brown, who was such a significant Loyalist commander, he started the Florida Rangers. We're going to be hearing about the Florida Rangers. This is under Thomas Brown. He was from the Augusta area. So the Loyalists come in, and there is a fella in the backcountry named John Boyd who is raising a Loyalist army from North Carolina and South Carolina. He's got 700 men who are on a mission to come down and meet the British troops coming up from Augusta. So I told you Augustine Prevost was the general. Augustine Prevost's second in command was his brother, Mark Prevost. And these are very good officers. These are Swiss officers who joined the British Army before the French and Indian War. Mark Prevost fought in the French and Indian War. And now he's with his brother in Savannah, and he's going up to Augusta. And now Archibald Campbell is also on this mission here at first. So Campbell and Prevost, Mark Prevost, are coming up. They're going to Augusta because they were told that they were to meet 1,000 Creek Indians. And they were going to form an alliance with the Creeks. So Prevost and Campbell, and at some point Campbell left and he sailed back to England. And now Prevost's in charge. And when he gets to Augusta, there's nothing there. There was like one trading post or something. There was not 1,000 Creek Indians for him to meet with. So he was rather disappointed over that, and then actually he turned around and went back because of that. But John Boyd in the back country with 700 loyalist militiamen, his plans are to meet Prevost in Augusta, and Prevost's not there. But this is the route that John Boyd and his men took. They came on down through till they came to a place called McGowan's Blockhouse. And this is over the Cherokee Ford over the Savannah River. Boyd and his men were looking for a ford, and the best one was Cherokee Ford, except that there was a fort there, McGowan's Fort. It was some kind of rampart. And it was manned by a captain and 7 old men who could not take the field. But they had 2 swivel guns. And Boyd and his men did not want any part of those swivel guns. Plus, they didn't want any part of those gentlemen who looked like half the crowd here tonight. But anyway, so Boyd starts heading to another fort. Now, Andrew Pickens during this time, he is besieging a loyalist fort that is in Georgia. And it wasn't much of a fort. It wasn't a big fort. But he was there at least one day, and he was going to continue the siege, except that he got word that Boyd was on the move now. And so Pickens abandoned the siege at Carr's Fort, and he crosses the Savannah, and he's wanting to confront Boyd somewhere along here. And in the meantime, his second in command, Robert Anderson. Anderson County, Anderson City is named after Robert Anderson. He's a fine fella. He was Andrew Pickens' right-hand man the entire time, a Presbyterian elder the entire time. And this is his only independent command that he had with his 100 men contesting the crossing of the Savannah right here at Vans Creek. So Anderson set his men up, and as Boyd and his men start coming across, now Boyd also sent another group further upstream to come back down. But these men right here started out with 700. By the time this battle was over, there were 600. Anderson and his men created that many casualties, and they say that quite a few were drowned anyway. But that was what Robert Anderson did during this action. So now Boyd does cross, and he's coming on down. He's heading down to Augusta, and he's coming through this place here. Pickens recrosses the Savannah, and he comes down, and he gets in position to confront John Boyd. So what this is the Battle of Kettle Creek in Georgia. There's a eminence here, a tall hill. To me, it reminds me of Kings Mountain. And there's a swamp here and a swamp here. Andrew Pickens has teamed up with 2 superb Georgia partisan leaders, and Elijah Clark. Now we know all about Elijah Clark. He is Georgia's answer to Pickens, Marion, and Sumter. He's on an equal level with those guys. And then John Dooley, who unfortunately got captured towards the end of the war and suffered a gruesome end at the hand of the Native Americans. So Pickens and his men are attacking straight up. The idea is for Dooley to get around on this side, Clark get around on this side, except there's a terrible swamp right here and right here. And these men are really stuck trying to get through that mud. So they weren't, in the initial part, really being very helpful. Pickens and his men start charging through, start charging up the hill here. And John Boyd gets shot 3 times, and he collapses on the field. And this is one of the times that Andrew Pickens gets his recognition from being such a Christian warrior on the battlefield. Because he goes to John Boyd, and apparently John Boyd and Andrew Pickens knew each other. But John Boyd knew that he was in good hands. If you're captured by Andrew Pickens, you are going to be treated fairly. But John Boyd was dying, and he said to Andrew Pickens, I have a brooch here. Will you give it to my wife for me? And this story comes from Andrew Pickens' grandchildren. And Andrew Pickens says, yes, I'll be glad to. And he went, and I think it was somewhere in Newberry County is where John Boyd may have been from. But this is all apocryphal. This is legendary, if you will. But when Andrew Pickens went to Miss Boyd to give her the brooch, she refused it. She did not want to speak to Andrew Pickens. But anyway, that's a family story. The resistance collapsed. Now, Pickens has a total of like 380 men, and he's going against 600. You know, this is a big victory that he had because these men just started retreating. Now, during the battle or before the battle started, half of the loyalists were on the other side of Kettle Creek anyway. Under Spurgeon, they were slaughtering cattle. That's why Pickens caught up with them. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they had run across 8 cattle, and they were having breakfast about 11 o'clock right over here. So half of Boyd's force was destroyed, killed, captured, or wounded. Half of them escaped to go down to Augusta to meet with Mark Prevost, who wasn't there. But anyway, this is the scene at the Kettle Creek battlefield. You can see the eminence up here. This is a really neat battlefield. It's can't remember the name of the little town in Georgia that it's close to. I think it's in Wilkes County. It's a delightful visit for anybody who wants to go see the Kettle Creek battlefield, and the town there is just lovely as well. So this is where Kettle Creek happened, and this is Augusta. Now nobody is there, and the loyalists, start to retreat. And Mark Prevost and his men, they're retreating. While this is going on, Andrew Williamson from Greenwood County, he's the leading patriot militiaman. Now, at a certain point, he started the war as a major, and he ended as a general. I don't know when he was promoted to what necessarily, but he was in charge of the Loyalist militia in the backcountry of South Carolina, and he had a camp. And I have not been. Now he had his plantation in Greenwood County was a meeting place so much, but I don't think this is at Whitehall, his plantation. But he had a camp. I hadn't found the location of that yet. And from this camp, a militia army from North Carolina came down through, and I believe that camp must have been on this side of the Savannah. So John Ash, his brother's named Asheville's named after him. John Ash and 1,300 North Carolina militiamen came through and joined up with Williamson's camp, and then they started shadowing these loyalists who were coming down through here, following behind. I know that they had some Georgia Continentals under Samuel Elbert. About 200, I'm going to say. And they start moving down. Now, when the Loyalists get to Brier Creek, there's a bridge over Brier Creek, and they burn that bridge. And now Ash, who's in charge of this group, is kind of stuck there because, this is defensive. You can't really go any further. And it was kind of a standoff or a stalemate. So Ash goes across the river because at this time, and I describe these events right here, and I'm going to be talking more about some of these events next month when we talk about the fall of Charleston. But I do describe this as a grand chess game. a chess match, because now Benjamin Lincoln has come into the territory from Charleston with the Continental Army, a Continental Army. He left 1,000 men in Charleston with under Moultrie. And Benjamin Lincoln comes down to Perrysburg, which is on the opposite side of the Savannah from Brier Creek. And on March the 1st of 1779, Kettle Creek was on February 14th. Now we're 2 weeks later. There is a meeting with John Ash and Benjamin Lincoln on yon side of the Savannah River. The second in command did not like the position that he was in, so he moved the camp about a mile, which was a good thing, and I'm going to show you in a minute. And then on March the 3rd, John Ash came back. And so what we have is a standoff, if you will. This is the bridge right here. It's been destroyed. There's a battalion here of the 71st Highlanders. The 71st Highlanders, they were so destructive in this whole Southern campaign. I mean, these guys were top of the line. They won battle after battle after battle. They whipped their tails time after time. And this is one of the battles where they did so. We got even, but anyway, I'll get to that later. So this is Ash's line. What happened was the 71st, this is the 1st Battalion of the 71st Highlands, 500 men, just guys you didn't want to mess with. And they were demonstrating and so forth, and they were acting like they were going to force the passage here where the bridge was. But what they did was an old British Army trick that just got George Washington time after time after time. And now here they are in Brier Creek, Georgia, doing the same thing. And what they did was they sent a flanking movement all the way around. 50 miles in 2 days, and they came through, and all of a sudden, here is the British Army marching down this road right here, and here is the Patriot Army standing off, getting ready to repel this assault. Well, all of a sudden, they get word that right down the road is the British Army coming in full force. So this is how John Ash, laid out his men. He had Wilmington Militia, Halifax Militia, Elbert. These are about 200 Georgia Continentals. And this is Eaton. This is a North Carolina general as well. Wilmington Militia here. This was a militia, light horse unit, scouts, things like that. Lytle here is still holding off the 71st here. The British, what they had, the 71st Highlanders had 2 battalions, 500 men each. So here they come right here up front and center. This is the best regiment right here in the British Army. And I say that unequivocally. I'll get some arguments, but I'll be glad to have that argument. So this is light infantry under Baird, Carolina Loyalist. The Rangers, I told you to be looking for the Florida Rangers. Thomas Brown, he got tortured at the beginning of the war. He got tarred and feathered, hit on the head. 2 of his toes were burned off. They called him Burnfoot Brown. He was a scourge the entire Revolutionary War. So the battle started, they were much further apart than what I'm showing right here. And Elbert and his Continentals, well, they weren't doing any good that far apart. So they moved up. And they wanted to engage these regulars right here. Now, these were top-notch soldiers. And they moved up to engage. And as they did that, they kind of angled off to the left. And in doing that, now they have masked the fire of all of these folks down here. So these folks here, they can't do anything because they'd be killing their own men if they fired their muskets. And then Eaton over here on the right, the Rangers, the mounted militia, they start pressuring. See that the right flank was hanging in the air. The left flank was bordered by Brier Creek. This is the Savannah River. You're not going to get across that Savannah River. It's powerful down there. But the right flank is hanging in the air, and now these Rangers and mounted militia come in, and they start threatening the right flank, and that's when Eaton, he shies to the left, and all of these fellas over here, they're worried about what's happening up here, leave the middle wide open. Leaves the middle right open in front of the 71st Regiment of Foot. And so they come through here, and within about 10 or 15 minutes of the beginning of this battle, all of these people are running and hauling off, hightailing it away from there. And the Battle of Brier Creek was a disaster. John Ash was court-martialed over this, but he was just found guilty of poor camp management. So, after Kettle Creek, we had a lot of momentum. Andrew Pickens says that's one of the most important battles in the backcountry, but all of that momentum was lost. And one of the officers said that the loss, I think it was Moultrie said this, the loss at Brier Creek set our fortunes back a year. So that was an important battle that hurt. Here is the monument to the Brier Creek battlefield. They've got a organization down there of SAR folks, and they're really doing a good job down there. They're building trails and all this sorts of things. It's out of the way. It's a 2 or 3 hour trip, no matter where you're coming from, but it's nice when you get there. So, I talked about when Saratoga fell and the British were so worried about the French getting involved. Now we're at the point where the French are involved. And this is in October of 1779. The French fleet under Comte d'Estaing has teamed up with the Continentals in the South. And he has gathered 5,000 troops. He's got 37 ships of the line and 5,000 troops. I believe this is the first time that the French and the Americans have worked together on a common battle. I believe it is. I'll have to look that up. So he's down there, and he, with his 5,000 men, the Patriot forces only have 1,000. We've got several Continental regiments. Francis Marion and then his Continental regiment is here. The South Carolina militia under Andrew Williamson, Greenwood County. Andrew Williamson was a very active leader. He was on expeditions down to Florida from the backcountry here with his men, with his supporters. Now he's in Savannah with members of the Spartan Regiment, the New Acquisition Regiment, the Lower 96th Regiment. All of these folks are with Andrew Williamson down in Savannah. And it's 1,000 Americans that are American patriots that are part of this 6,000-man attacking force. And Comte d'Estaing is the senior officer. So what the British have been doing in the meantime with Savannah right here, they have created a ring of fortifications all the way around Savannah. This field would have been cleared for 200 yards all the way around. That is the range of a rifle fire. Redoubts, bastions, cannons. They took the cannons off those, well, the British took the cannons off of their guns and mounted them on the defenses here. These had naval guns. And the French had naval guns as well. So there was, some artillery going on between these two groups. I told you this was in October. What happens in the southeastern Caribbean in the fall months? Hurricanes. And Comte d'Estaing knew all about hurricanes, and he was worried all about hurricanes. They had invested Savannah for a while. It was cut off, and it couldn't have withstood a siege that much longer. Except d'Estaing was like, we got to get out of here. There's a hurricane coming, anytime. We've got all these men here. Let's attack. We will attack the next day, and we're going to attack the rightmost part of the defenses here, the Spring Hill Redoubt. And who he has attacking this is Dillon's, this is French, Dillon's Irish Brigade. They were from Ireland. They were Catholics from Northern Ireland who left when the British took over and said you can't be a Catholic anymore. All of these Irish came down to France, which was Catholic, and they formed a regiment or several regiments. It was a brigade right here. So they were on the right flank. All of these men under Benjamin Lincoln, French here. This is where the Americans were. Casimir Pulaski, the father of American cavalry, while Washington was in Valley Forge with von Steuben, and they were getting the Continental Army in shape so they could hold off at Monmouth. Casimir Pulaski was redefining the American cavalry in America. He is known as the father of the American cavalry up until his arrival, and he was doing this in New Jersey while Washington was at Valley Forge. Under his plans, prior to him, the cavalry were used for scouting, for messengers, for escorting prisoners. They weren't fighting as a unified force, and Pulaski taught them how to do that. And so now he's with the Continental forces that are coming down. John Lawrence, the son, at this point he was aide-de-camp to George Washington, but he wanted to be in the field, and so he came down and he's fighting here. The son of Henry Lawrence, Lawrence County, John Lawrence, y'all got that? All right. Benjamin Lincoln and his army here. Francis Marion would have been in this spot. So the morning of the attack, everybody was supposed to gather at 1 o'clock, and they were going to get in position. It was, like almost dawn when they were getting in position. And as they marched across the field, that 200 yards of open ground, there was a dense fog. And they were walking up, and the British couldn't see them then. But when they were halfway across that field, the fog lifted. And now they were exposed right in the middle of that cleared and open area. But that's not the worst thing that happened. The worst thing was 2 nights before this attack began, 2 deserters went into the French camp and told the French all the plans and about how the Spring Hill Redoubt was going to be attacked first thing in the morning. So now this was super reinforced. And these men are walking into a death trap as they come through here. That's what it was. At the siege of Savannah, that is the bloodiest 1 hour in the American Revolution. That's how long this battle lasted. And there were 1,000 men that were killed or wounded during this time, 1,000 casualties. There were 1,000 British casualties at on Bunker Hill, but that battle lasted all day. So, the British just were expecting, knowing that this battle was going to occur. And, this is the American forces here attacking, I don't know, these are the British forces up here. I'd have to examine the uniforms and so forth. These are Americans that are attacking. Now, you see the red flag and the blue flag over here. These were carried by American forces. An admirer of Francis Marion had presented him with 2 flags, and one of them was red and one of them was blue. And the color guard bearer of the fellow with the red flag, as he was charging up on the Spring Hill redoubt, he was killed. And he fell on top of his flag, and that flag was later recovered underneath his dead body. But another color bearer carrying the blue flag was wounded seriously. And as he was falling to the ground, he turned to his side and he gave that blue flag to another individual who was close by him. And this fellow was Sergeant Jasper. Sergeant Jasper, who saved the flag at the Battle of Sullivan's Island when the flagstaff had been shot in half. And the British thought that the fort had surrendered. Sergeant Jasper attached that flag, which was Moultrie's flag, a crescent on a blue field. Anytime somebody says that crescent is a gorget, you have my permission to slap them in the face. It's not a gorget. It's a crescent on a blue field. So the flag was shot down, and Sergeant Jasper was there. He took it, and he tied it on to a ramrod, a cannon ramrod, and he started waving the flag like this. And the Patriot forces were reinvigorated. The British knew that the gig was not up, and we cherish Sergeant Jasper for what he did. But when that flag was handed to him, he was now flying another flag of Francis Marion, and he was waving it. And he got killed during that time. Casimir Pulaski, the father of American cavalry, when he sees that the Patriot forces are faltering, he charges on his steed into the middle of the battle when he is cut down by a blast from grape shot from a cannon. And he's buried in Savannah as well. So the battle of the second siege of Savannah was just absolutely tragic occurrence. And, we have suffered throughout the rest of the Revolutionary War because of that. Does anybody have any questions? Well, if not, I appreciate your attention, and I'm glad to see. Yes, Bobby. Bobby, let me tell you, the people that are watching can't hear you. Can you give me a one-sentence question that I can repeat? Washington, Georgia is the town near Kettle Creek. Yeah. Washington, Georgia is great. It's all yours. Yeah, we're done.
I was falling down on my job.
Thank you, folks.